welcome back to Books with Brandywine. It is now the end of, what is this, April? April, yeah. I don't know why I thought it was May for a second there. It is the end of April, and so it is the end of Shakespeare Month. I know that I have 4 or 5 days left of the month, but I am on the last of his plays that I'm going to be reading this month, and I know that I'm not going to be reading another one after that, because after that I'm going to be reading Julie and Romeo for the Magical Readathon, and that'll be my last book in the Magical Readathon as well, and so then I'll be finishing up this month. So, since I'm on the last book that I'm going to be reading for this month, I figured now is as good a time as any to do the wrap-up for Shakespeare Month, so we can look at how it went. It obviously did not go exactly how I planned, but let's get into that. So, before the month started, the only Shakespeare plays that I had read had been Hamlet, which I read once or twice in school, Macbeth, which I read in school, The Tempest, which I read for fun in high school, and A Midsummer Night's Dream, which I read for fun in high school, and I feel like there should be one more. Let's see, Hamlet, Macbeth, Midsummer Night's Dream, Tempest. Is it only 4? Oh, and Romeo and Juliet, which I read in high school. So I had previously read 5 of Shakespeare's plays. This month I planned on reading a play a day, and that I believe that was like 36 or 32 plays. And I figured since the plays are only 2 to 4 hours each, I should be able to read one a day. That did not happen quite how I planned out. As it is, it took me on average 2 to 3 days to read each play. And in addition to reading Shakespeare's plays, I was also reading, not adaptations, but I don't think adaptation's the right word, but like plays that were kind of based off of it, like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, and the graphic novel Romeo and Juliet, The War, and Shakespeare's Star Wars. So I was reading those in between reading the Shakespeare's plays, and so those also took time to read. So in total, I have here, these are all of the physical copies of the books that I read, minus Henry VI Part 2, which is in my car right now, and Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead, which is also in my car, and Romeo and Juliet, The War, which was a graphic novel that was on my phone. I had the ebook. So, I counted, and there are 1, 2, 3, I have to count again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, plus the one in my car, so 9. I read 9 of Shakespeare's plays. 2 of these were 3 of these were plays that I had already read previously. So if I had previously read 5, and then we added 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, we added 6 more, so we doubled the amount of plays that I had read previously, which I still count as a win. I didn't get to read every single one of his plays like I wanted to, but I did double the previous amount of plays that I had read, and so I'm like really, really excited for that. I stacked these, but I didn't stack them necessarily the order I read them, so we won't go through them in the order I read them. There are videos for each of these each of these plays that I made as I was reading them that you can, I'll link them below, and you can also find them on the Shakespeare's Month playlist that I made. So the first one was As You Like It. This was my first time reading this comedy, and I thought it was okay. I thought, as far as comedies go, I much preferred Much Ado About Nothing, which was, again, my first time reading it, and I believe this is now, like, my favorite play. I really, really, really enjoyed Much Ado About Nothing. I really enjoyed Beatrice's sass and her quick-wittedness. I loved that. For The Winter's Tale, it was my first time reading this one as well. I didn't even know that this play existed until I went out and tried to buy all of Shakespeare's plays. I had never heard of it before then. And I really didn't like it. I was glad that things worked out in the end, but I had so many problems with King Leontes that I could not enjoy that play. And you'll see that in my video, how angry I got. The Tempest, this was my, gosh, I don't even know what number this was. I read it multiple times when I was in high school. This was my favorite of all of Shakespeare's plays in high school. Having read it again as an adult, I still enjoyed it, but it is no longer my favorite. Much Ado About Nothing is now my favorite. King John, it was the first time I've read any of his histories, And I liked this book. I thought it was fast-paced. I enjoyed it much more than I expected to because I thought it'd be a lot drier as a history. But I really, really enjoyed it. I was glad I got to read it. And I'm looking forward to reading the rest of his histories. I actually was enjoying this histories more than I expected. Henry VI Part 1, I read really fast as well. I actually just finished reading this one. This is the last book that I finished. And I'm currently reading Henry VI Part 2. But like I said, that's in my car. And I expect to be finished with that today or tomorrow. And I enjoyed them. I thought it was interesting to see what went on because I don't really know very much about English history, and reading these encouraged me to look up more about English history, and so that was interesting to see. And I liked that Joan of Arc was in this one because I was not expecting her to be in it. Hamlet, this is probably the second or third time I've read it. I read it for sure in high school. I might have read it in college. I can't remember. And then I read it now, and this was the original version that I had when I read it in high school. And it was okay. I mean, it's Hamlet, it's drama, it's angst. Everyone dies in the end, but it's still interesting to get to read it. Romeo and Juliet, this I think is my second time reading it because I'm pretty sure I read it in my junior year of high school. And I don't remember if I've read it any of the other previous years. It was interesting to see it as an adult now and not as a teenager like the last time I read it. Still not one of my favorites, but I am glad that I read it because it does have an interesting story and it does show a lot in our culture. After reading Hamlet, I read Rosencrantz and Guildenstern, and I'll talk more about that book in the Magical Readathon wrap-up. I really did not like it, but I will explain why in that video. I also read Romeo and Juliet, The War, which was a graphic novel, and I enjoyed it. I liked it more than reading the play Romeo and Juliet because I felt that they corrected a lot of the things that I had issues with in the play. And then I also read William Shakespeare's Star Wars, which I will again discuss further in the Magical Readathon. And hopefully I will also read Julie and Romeo after I finish the Henry VI Part 2. It's a long title. I haven't decided yet if I'm going to fit the rest of the Shakespeare books into my reading, like in between my readings, or if I'm going to be doing this again next April and try and finish off more of Shakespeare's books. I know I believe it's November, they do the Shake Tube, and I don't know who's going to be hosting it this year or which Shakespeare plays they're going to choose, but if they do any Shakespeare plays that I haven't read yet, then I would like to join that too and get some of more Shakespeare's plays read. I do want to read all of Shakespeare's plays. Like, I still really, really want to do that. I am looking forward, though, to no longer dreaming in Shakespeare or having my thoughts be in, like, Shakespeare's language. So that will be a nice respite. And I'm really, really looking forward to the Sailor Moon-a-thon that's coming up in a few days. And so I'm going to be moving on away from Shakespeare as I'm moving into other readathons that are going to be coming up. But I really, I'm so glad that I got to do this month. I wish I had read more of them, but I really enjoyed the ones that I did read. And when I would read the books and then go and read, like, the other things that were, like, based off of Shakespeare, like Rosencrantz and Guildenstern are Dead, or, like, Shakespeare's Star Wars, it really made me miss the actual Shakespeare plays. They are so well written, and I enjoyed them so much. Like, he's a good writer. Like, I love them, and I love that I got to watch them in movie form, like, especially with the Hollow Crown, I'm getting to watch the histories in movie form, and it just adds so much, because obviously these were written to be seen, not read, and so that definitely changes things a little bit. But overall, I'm really, really glad that I got to do this because I did double the amount of Shakespeare plays I'd previously read. I still feel like it's a win, and I am looking forward to getting to finish the rest of Shakespeare's plays. I will continue posting videos every day this month, and so I will see you guys tomorrow. Have a wonderful day. Bye.